Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to go over the character review for Aria. I'm going to start with a general overview of the unit, followed by whether you should pull for the unit or not. Then we're going to go through a kit overview, we're going to talk about investment, the ignition weapon that you can run on her, and also some sort of team building tips. So let's get started with the first point, and I will say Aria is an extremely versatile unit. You can use her in a variety of teams. You can use her on her own. You can use her with very minimal support, which I value a lot in general when I recommend the unit for an account. So units like Hugo and Aria, for me, are always going to be valuable because of their good survivability. They don't need a support to keep them alive, which means you have a lot more options to counter the enemy composition or to buffer damage even more. So I really like this type of unit. I think Aria is really good. The thing is, you cannot really use her as zero dupes. She will need Revolution 4 for the survivability to kick in, and she will need Revolution 5 for her damage to be really, really good. Without those two things, she is basically irrelevant. You can work around it, but it will be extremely expensive in terms of support that she will need, and she won't really perform that well. So she's not a low copy unit. She is either maxed out or basically don't bother with her. Now, I think that says most of the things I wanted to mention. The only thing left would be that I think this unit is future proof because even when her damage will be power crept, and that will happen, she still has great utility with the active skill cooldown increase effect that she has. Right now, only two units have that. One is Aria, the other one is Princess of Zahard. But Aria can be used on her own, so you can slot her in when you need that kind of effect, and she will work as sort of a stall tank, sub DPS, and also provide this active skill cooldown increase. She also has energy decrease, but it's not that reliable, it's not that spammable, so it's there, but it's not insane. So in general, I think Aria is a really good unit for any account, and also in the future, she will be always relevant. And yeah, enough about that. I would say we can talk about whether you should pull her or not. And this is always tricky to say. I always cover that in the first impression video. I always cover that also in some videos after and in the tier list update video. So guys, don't wait for the character review to decide whether you want to pull a unit or not. Because like this time, the character review video could come at the very last second. So you don't really have a lot of time now to be pulling for her in case you were like doubtful and you were waiting for this video to decide. Don't do that, guys. Just use the first impression video and maybe a couple of videos after. And if in doubt, ask in the comments or write to me on Discord and I will try my best to reply. But yeah, in general, should you pull for this unit? The answer is always it depends on your resources. I think, as I said, she's really valuable. She's future proof, so she's a safe investment if you have the means to pull for her. But we have to take into account that there is going to be Urek rerun coming. There is Gustang rerun in the next update. There is Kunagero, which is a support, and usually support are very future proof. So there are a lot of units that you might want to summon on. So at the end of the day is always, do you need this type of unit? So she's mainly a DPS right now. You can also say in the future she will just be sort of a tanky sub DPS unit. So do you need that kind of unit for your account, or do you already have 5 DPSs? Maybe you don't need a frontline unit. Maybe you don't need her at the moment. So you might want to skip her for the following units. So it's hard to say yes or no. It always depends on your situation. If pulling for Aria would take you to zero like resources, then it's not always a good idea to do that. You always want to keep something in case there is a very must-have unit that you have to pull on. I think Aria is close to being must-have, but she's not too consistent at times. Like there are some fights where she struggles a bit, but it's normal. I mean, every unit has that, except for work maybe. But yeah, like she doesn't feel insane in terms of power level as maybe a Cha or a Urek, as I mentioned before. So I wouldn't consider her super crazy must-have unit, but she's still great. I mean, she's really good for what she provides. And the fact that she's so versatile to me is a major plus. So if you have the means to, I think she's a safe pick. And yeah, that's all I can say. Now let's go over the base kit and the exotic equipment, etc. Just to have an idea of what she does. We're going to start as usual from the passive. So what she has is very important. The first part here in the passive is that the first time that she dies, basically, she's going to become invisible for 3 seconds and then is going to recover 1000 energy, which means you're going to guarantee the special move. And that's really, really important. Then we have the second part that when this effect activates, she's going to increase her own attack by 120% and defense by 80% until the end of the battle. This is unremovable thanks to this equipment, so you don't have to worry about removing it, like enemies removing it. Still, the buff is not too insane, so it doesn't matter. Also, the defense increase is garbage. I don't know why they keep on adding that. She doesn't need defense. You don't run resistances on her. So that's totally worthless. I don't know why they did that, but okay. Probably for PvP purposes. Then we have another very important effect that every time Aria increases an enemy active skill cooldown, her attack increases by 80%, 20 stacks. Now, this is a lot of attack, obviously, up to 1600%, and this is also unremovable. So, really, really good. We cannot really say anything else other than really, really good. Then we have the first active skill, Jump Step. She's going to use that basically immediately. And that's going to knock down enemies, deal some damage, and increase the remaining active skill cooldown by 8 seconds. Now, skills when you start the fight have an initial cooldown. That's also going to be increased. So you're going to delay the active skill activation on enemies. That's really good. It's kind of AoE, you're not going to hit a lot of enemies though, but still quite good. Then we have also the fact that she gains an attack increase and evasion increase by 80% for 12 seconds. The evasion increase is massive and makes evasion actually kind of worth it on Aria if you want. Not mandatory, but it's nice. Then we have the second active skill. She's going to kick 6 times, dealing every time 800% attack, which is quite a lot, and jolting the enemy. Jolt is annoying against Urek, the flight Urek Mazino, so yeah, there's that, but it's still manageable. And then every time you hit, the active skill cooldown of the enemy is going to be increased by 2 seconds. So it's 12-second increase if you hit all 6 attacks. Pretty decent, I would say. It's also AoE, so if you have some grouping, this is pretty massive. Then we have this special move. Now this is a bit weird, but okay. So she's going to deal an AoE attack at first and activate the spell of time for 8 seconds. When this is active, is basically like the Berserk state from Oakin. She's going to teleport to enemies, always the one that is further away. For some reason, kind of a weird targeting, because that's always going to change every single attack, so she moves around all the time. And is going to deal 200% of her attack as damage with every hit and jolt them. So again, more status effects, kind of garbage against Urek, but you can work around it. And then she's going to unleash her final kicks that deals 800% of her attack as damage to enemies in range, and she's going to add 3 kicks every time she has a successful teleport attack, max 30 times. So that's a lot. Like if you hit this last kick, that's a lot of damage. If you don't, that's kind of garbage, but okay. So really, really good special move. And she's immune to status effects until her final kicks are used. So status effect immunity on her is not too important, but there is also the fact that if you have like Rafflesia as a set, when she stops kicking, she becomes vulnerable in that very split second before you recast the special move, because you always want to be in the special move state. So in that case, having Rafflesia that will protect you from status effects in that case, it's quite important from my point of view. But we're going to talk about sets later in the ignition weapon section. So yeah, that's the base kit, really valuable. Now let's have a quick look at the exclusive equipment. She has lifesteal here, not too important, she already has lifesteal in the Revolution subnodes if you want. Level 1, every time she increases the cooldown of an enemy, her active skill cooldown decreases by 1 second. So she has that, like, it's AoE. So if you hit multiple enemies, there's going to be a lot of cooldown decrease. If you hit only one, then that's going to be one for the jump step and six for the other one, which is still decent, but is not too insane. And then for level 2, the attack coefficient of time interference increases by 200%, which is the kicks. So that's 1000% per kick times 6. Not bad. And level 3, she's going to steal 500 energy from targets she attacks with jump step. That's important as well because she gains energy and she can like remove energy from enemies. So that's really good stuff. Then we have level 4, Spell of Eternity buff, which is the passive, cannot be removed with buff removal skills. So these 1600% attack and this 120% cannot be removed. Really good stuff. For evolution, which is really important because so far she has no survivability whatsoever in her kit, we have this Revolution 4. So during Spell of Time, she becomes immortal, preventing her HP from falling to 5% or lower until her special move ends. Once immortality is removed, she recovers 50% of the damage taken while it was active, plus 300% of her attack. Really good, obviously. You need to change the special move. She's not like it could be that you have some downtime and she dies. It happens. Also, if she decides to use an active skill, which also happens, she's vulnerable, so you cannot really go 100% without any survivability whatsoever, but she doesn't need as much survivability as the other units. She's also not as immune to damage as a max stacks princess, but still good enough. It's a really good revolution. And for Revolution 5, we have that it's the passive buff. There is an additional 80% attack increase that cannot be removed. And additionally, the final kicks of her special move are enhanced, increasing the attack coefficient by 900% each time she attacks the same target. That's a fuck ton of damage. That's a lot. She still deals insane amount of damage, so Orange 4 is viable, but this is the big deal. This is a lot. This is really good. And yeah, that was all for Revolution. Now, if we want to talk about Ignition weapons a little bit, we have some options. Now, I didn't know exactly which one to place in the best in slot, to be honest, because we have a few issues. Like Rafflesia, as we saw, she's immune to status effects while in the special move, and she kind of always wants to be in the special move. But she will also be casting active skill every now and then, so you do need some coverage in that case. And I also, I don't know, like Alocasia would be great because it works with her own evasion increase. You get the physical pierce basically up all the time. But at the current moment, neither of those, I would say, can be considered best in slot. We have to wait for the actual buff. I still added Rafflesia because I think also the energy that it provides is valuable for Aria, so you can chain the special moves a bit better. At times there are some energy regen problem if you don't have energy provided by the team. So Rafflesia kind of helps. I'm running personally Alocasia just because I believe Alocasia would be best in slot after the buff, but that is just my self-belief. I have no idea what's actually going to happen. So one of those two will be best in slot after the buff. For now, I don't know which one to pick, to be honest. Then we have Doris and Idea as potential option. Doris will give her more swiftness, which is lower active skill cooldown and quicker animation, so definitely good. But I'd rather have that on a support, to be honest. I don't really want to run that on Aria. It works, I just personally don't want to do it. Then you have Idea. After the buff, it is interesting, especially if you are in a scenario where you cannot give her any kind of energy and you see your Aria always being short on energy. Then you can go with Idea, but I don't know. I think that buff was too weak for it to matter. I wouldn't really bother with that set. Then we have Ryanna. Now, Ryanna works basically the same as Rafflesia right now because you have 5-second status effect immunity followed by 5-second where you don't have that, which is cool. And you have 300 energy every 10 seconds. All of that is pretty valuable, I would say. You also have the initial 5-second silence that can come in handy. So I think it is definitely a good set to run on her. Probably right now the best set to run on her. But again, once Rafflesia and Alocasia are going to receive a buff, I'm pretty confident both of them will be better than Rihanna. That's just what I would say. Now, in terms of investment, we talked about that quite a bit already, but I would say the mandatory investment would be Orange 4. Slot 2 would be the only important one with the crit rate and crit damage. I would go crit damage slot 4 and physical pierce slot 5, then you focus on crit rate in the substats. You want to get as close as possible to 100%, should be easily achievable. And for slot 4, you could run effect resistance or effect hit. Now, effect resistance, you already have it in the Revolution subnodes because this unit is a warrior. But the more you have, the better, obviously, because you can resist more status effects, you have an higher chance. Effect hit, she doesn't have a lot of stuff she needs to land. So I would say that's mostly for PvP, where you maybe actually want to land some CC and they might have an impact. In most of the adventure fights, if she doesn't land anything, we wouldn't even like notice that. She doesn't have any relevant debuffs. She has some crowd control, but who cares? So I'd say effect resistance would be a good alternative, but even just running crit damage increase is totally fine. Because effect resistance, she's immune to status effects most of the time, so that would be just for the downtime. If you're running Rafflesia, you don't need that. And it would be for the debuffs, so she can better resist some debuffs here and there. Not necessary. I would say the default is crit damage increase, and that's totally fine from my point of view. Then in terms of Revolution investment, in this case, you can only go up to Revolution 4. And the only node you really care about are effect resistance and crit damage. And that's it. Her damage won't be too high with this level of investment, but it's still noticeable. You can use her as a carry. Then we have recommended. This is just already Rainbow 5. We have the same crit damage, physical pierce with the same logic here in the nodes. And we have the addition of the evasion node. So here I only put Revolution 5 because I added Revolution 6 in the nice to have. I think max cooldown reduction is definitely good, not really must have. So I wanted to have this distinction. Recommended, I would say, is just this level of investment, which isn't too expensive. Evasion is also kind of optional, up to you. It's just to double down on the 80% evasion increase that she has, but it's not necessary. These two will be enough. Now for the nice to have, the only big change is that I upgraded slot 3 to +5 because it gives evasion. So it's just again to double down on the 80% evasion increase. Then we have the same crit damage increase, physical pierce, nothing changed, and we added the max cooldown reduction. That's it. As simple as that. Now let's look at the last tab, which is team building tips. Here we have the usual information on what she provides to the team. So she gives tanking capabilities because she's a good stall tank. She has active skill cooldown increase, energy decrease, and damage. That's all she does for the most part. Then what she needs from the team, there is a lot of stuff here, but none of that is basically mandatory. She will need energy. She will need status effect immunity, again, just for the downtime. So this I should probably move to the very end, or maybe remove altogether, to be honest, since she already has it when she's in the special move, but okay. Defense decrease, really good to buffer damage. Buff removal on the enemies, obviously, same reason, so that they remove all of their sort of tanky buffs, etc. That's always helpful. HP recovery block, again, for obvious reasons. And active skill cooldown reduction, so that she can keep up the active skills a bit more, since they are so good. Then we have the enemies that you should avoid. I would say basically work. That's what I wrote here. In general, she doesn't have too many problems against most of the enemies. If they can prevent her from using the special move and they will CC her, like if they have a lot of CC and a lot of damage over time, that as soon as she ends the special move state, she dies, then that sucks and it's obviously a unit that you should avoid. But in general, with the right teams, you have a lot of flexibility. You can easily work around most enemies. So yeah, which enemies is the unit good against? Potentially anyone. You just need to use the other 4 units to counter the enemies. And I really like this type of units that will give you that flexibility, because other units might require very specific teammates to function, so you have less options to counter the enemy. Then we have unit synergies. We have Albelda. To be honest, I used Aria with Albelda not too much. They obviously work well together because of extra damage, the defense decrease, the active skill cooldown reduction. Also, the invincibility that she provides every now and then is good. She also has some energy that she provides. So Belda is great. I don't know if I would use her with Aria most of the times. Then we have Shia. She has not that much for ability, but more than enough for Aria. The damage buff that she provides to attack scaling DPS units is really good. So she's a great support for any attack scaling DPS unit, Aria included. Then we have Ocni because of the synergy with the evasion increase. The more evasion you have, the higher your chances of dodging, so that you can survive more easily, and it could be more than enough survivability for most scenarios. And he also provides energy, a lot of it, provides attack increase, provides defense decrease on the enemies. So in general, is a really solid unit to pair with Arya. Then we have Alphine. She also provides really good survivability in general with the conceal, etc., and the defense decrease. That's mostly it, but also I didn't really have any specific teammates that I wanted to recommend for Arya. You really kind of go with whatever you have available and whatever you need to counter the enemy. Then we have Yura, mostly for the active skill cooldown reduction, because all the survivability she provides is a bit too much, I would say, for Arya. Like, she survives well on her own already. Using a Yura with her is a bit of a waste. I'm personally doing it because I'm also running Tromray in that team, and I'm using Yura to buff Tromray and keep the frog alive more than to support Arya. So yeah, kind of depends on your team building, but I wouldn't necessarily use Yura. Then we have Nare, just to provide a more cheap option that gives a lot of the stuff that she wants, but is also not too used, so you might have her to spare. She's going to provide energy, minor survivability with the sort of hit barrier and the invisibility. She also provides attack buff and defense decrease on the enemies. So overall, Nare is a good support. The thing is, her own survivability is kind of garbage, so you have to pay attention to that. In terms of basic teams, they're very random because, as I said, you need to build teams to counter the enemy. Now, for the monocolor team, is not that it is random for this reason, is that monocolor green teams are complete garbage. Like, they have very weird units. And so I just put together some random shit. We have Yuri because she has a provoke. She has, therefore, the Myeongul effect that is going to apply HP recovery block and energy recovery block. We have Zahard that is going to provide 2 times the active skill cooldown reduction. This is the XSR plus Zahard, so if you don't have it, then don't bother. Then we have Ju, just because she's probably the only useful SSR unit we have. And we have Tromray, because why not? But yeah, there is no synergy whatsoever. Everyone is doing their own thing. It's just random shit. Literally just use whatever you have to spare in a mono green team, and that's it. For the multicolor team, it was also tricky because it really depends what you're facing. I added an HP recovery block that is also going to buff the special move damage and provide some very good stuns. Then we have Albelda for some extra survivability, some energy, and also the defense decrease on the enemies and stuff. So overall, really good combination. We have Hockney for the things we mentioned before, the evasion increase, the attack increase, and also the energy. Nare, again, for the energy. Like, here, Arya has a ton of energy, probably a bit too much. So yeah, it's overkill. It's not a team I would normally use. Again, just give her the teammates you need to counter the enemy. It is really, really difficult to recommend a specific team for Arya. I don't know. It's really hard. If you have any specific recommendation, every combo that you really liked, maybe share them in the comments so that other people can read them. But really, Arya is so flexible, you can use her where needed. and with whoever you need to play with. So that's all, guys, I would say for the video. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow for the update. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you then. Bye.